All right, now let's call this committee of the whole meeting open. Go ahead, Councillor Guimard. All right, let's proceed in French then, shall we? I move that the agenda be adopted as presented. Seconded by Councillor Simoneau. Any questions? All those in favor? Thank you then. Disclosures of conflicts of interest? None. Fine. Delegations and presentations? There are none. Petitions and correspondence. Items 5.1. Yes? Do you wish us to tackle this? Go ahead then, Mr. Mayor. This is a petition dated March the 12th, 2016 from residents of St. Felix Road with regards to the removal of asphalt on St. Felix Road from west of 987 towards Drouin Road. So we've received a petition. Well, I just have a question. It seems that the petition states that they're in agreement in having the asphalt removed and reinstall a new layer of asphalt. My question is the base solid enough to cover it up with a new layer of asphalt? Well, we'll see that next year. Well, is the road base solid enough to accommodate a new layer of asphalt? Mr. Carrière? Well, I have no comments with regards to this, Mr. Mayor. Well, we'll have to take a look at the base. It's just a matter of how long of this roadway is going to be worked. Normally what we do is that we put on a new layer of gravel on top of the old asphalt that will be left there. It's going to be camouflaged to a certain extent. It can be used also as a secondary layer of gravel. If I understand correctly, if they're in agreement of going ahead with this, we're layering it with crushed stone. So are we ready to perform the work? Well, we were asked if the asphalt could be broken up, but we didn't put any conditions. They put in that condition. Well, they're the authors of the petition. That's what they require. In any event, we're going to have to take a look at the budget. You know, if there's money that will allow us to do this, we'll do it. I can tell you that Ward 7 is certainly due. Well, Councillor Levert, Ward 7 has had more than its share. I'm telling you. Oh, please. Oh, please. Just a question. Is there a situation that exists or a rule that exists in which we cannot put on another new layer? No. Well, because, see, the residents are saying that they're in agreement of having it removed upon the condition that we put in a new layer of asphalt. During the last time we voted on that resolution, we said that we'd consult with those individuals. Yes, with regards to the crushed stone matter. Yes, those are the people that are living in front of where the work is going to be performed. Well, look, you know, if the budget, allows us to do so, we'll do so. But if we remove that layer, and we can let them know that they'll be compensated. We can't promise that next year we're going to go ahead with all of the work they require. Mr. Mayor, I think I need a confirmation on the part of town administration that these individuals represent 2/3 of that local population. If they do not represent 2/3 of that local population, we should send a letter then to the owners of the adjoining properties asking them if they are in favor of removing the asphalt layer or not. It's fine. It's well and nice now to have a petition before us. We're in the process now of acting upon a step that was taken. Well, I mean, the petition was forwarded to us in good faith. I just don't want to be negative. I'm trying to understand what they're getting at. Well, they've asked for crushed stone to be laid down. You know, but we can't promise that this roadway will be repaired next year. Well, you see, we're giving them the choice if they don't want to. If 2/3 of the residents say no, then it's going to be crushed stone, that's all. Councillor Simoneau. Well, Mr. Mayor, the petition addresses the removal of the asphalt upon the condition that a new layer of asphalt be put in. This is not the steps that we are taking at present. We are taking the steps that were approved by everyone, and then, having done so, we'll take a look at our 2017 financial situation to determine whether or not we'll go ahead with a new layer of asphalt. See, the resolution required that 2/3 of the individual wished the new layer of asphalt to be put in. That's fine. If they don't wish to have a new layer of asphalt put in, the matter ends right there. So, are we talking about 9 owners? Yes. Along that stretch of roadway, yes, that needs to be asphalted. There are a lot more properties around, but there are 9 properties that are concerned by this particular step we're taking. The step we are taking impact the riverfront properties that will be affected by the laying down of asphalt layers. Now, sir, Mr. Carrière, our 10-year plan, are things going forward? Yes, our 10-year plan is going ahead. We're in the process of laying down the figures, putting down the figures that will allow us to implement those projects that are contained within our 10-year plan. Well then, this being said, we can go back to the residents and let them know what can be done and what cannot be done. Well, we can mention that if everything goes well and that Santa Claus goes by our chimneys every 25th of December, everything will turn out hunky-dory. What can I say? But we have a variety of choices, before us. Well, those riverfront owners know that something will be done, though. Yeah, but let me tell you, go to Ottawa, go to Montreal, there are potholes, small and large, here, there, and everywhere. There are even some orphaned roads that are impacted. Yes, I knew that was coming. Okay, so that's going to be filed. The petition is going to be filed. Item 5.2, letter from the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs with regards to the OAFC 2016 Municipal Officials Seminar. This seminar will be offered on Saturday and Sunday in Toronto. We've received this bit of correspondence. If any of you are interested in attending, we're going to tap into your individual budgets to ensure that you participate if you wish to. So we've accepted to receive this bit of correspondence. Item 5.3, Clarence Rockland Community Cleanup. Okay, I believe the Environmental Committee is taking care of this. Well, the Environmental Committee, for the past year and a half that we've been elected, has never acted in this. I'm asking Mrs. Collier, when will this committee be up and running? We've been asked to take part in this particular project. I don't know what position to take. Well, I did speak with Marie-Ève Bélanger, who is acting director. The last update I had from her, she told me that they were having a meeting. I have to follow up with the date as to when they're going to have this meeting. I believe it's going to be the 30th of April. My question is, it says here, garbage bags will be provided at the Municipal Hall. Now, is this going to be, well, how are they dividing it up? Is it only for Rockland or for the outskirts underlying the area? That's my question. There's a telephone number there, so I'll call. I don't know if you guys know the answer. Well, they're asking about the Environment Committee. The Environment Committee is supposed to be in charge of this garbage pickup, but the Environmental Society, and there's the Environmental Committee that come into play. The Environmental Society is a private corporation or enterprise, or entity if you wish. Usually I know that in Saint Pascal they attend schools there and conduct a type of awareness campaign. I know that. Any comments, Councillor Levert? I would still like to congratulate those partners that drew up the poster with regards to this particular project. It's quite commendable. The high school students came up with a very interesting design, and it's nice to incorporate youngsters in the environmental committee and its dealings, or the environmental council and its dealings, if you wish. Okay, so April the 30th is the fateful date, and if any one of you care to obtain any information, I believe there's a phone number. Yes, there is a phone number. Can this be? Well, there's a phone number already included there. Is this something that normally we'd send out via email to our 1,000 or so subscribers or email subscribers? Well, not this one, but the handout that we'll send by mail, the handout contains all of the relevant information. And it's all, this information is also on the town's website on the 30th of April. Of course, all types of events going on in individual communities, Saint Pascal, Clarence Rocklet. It might be propitious to at least mention the phone number. If we post the phone number on the on our town's website, of course, they can at least obtain the phone number from the website. All right. Item 5.4, email from Tom Rackus, Councillor of the Town of Aurora, with regards to the Ontario Municipal Board jurisdiction. I believe that this matter might be, we might be advised to convert this matter into a resolution. I take a look at the Saint-Isidore Town Council that asked that a windmill station not be put up in their vicinity. However, the province went ahead and put up a windmill, should I say. Councillor Lalonde, well, up to a certain point I'm in agreement, but let's just say that if there's a decision of that particular nature that was taken that impacted La Nation, it's because there's too much politics involved. I told them that they couldn't win, you know. When you don't want something, you always come up with means to circumvent what needs to be done if you don't wish it to be done, but you can come up with all types of schemes or manipulations to circumvent this. So do you vote that we receive and file this, or do you want to convert this into a type of resolution? I'm just expecting more municipalities, Mr. Mayor, to hop on board this particular bandwagon. My opinion is that we should at least wait. Yeah, we should have further discussions at the town council level. There are 444 municipalities, I believe, on board. We might have a bit more information on the resolutions that were passed, because all we're faced with now is an email. Can we obtain a bit more information for our next meeting? Is it possible to obtain a bit more information at our next meeting with regards to this? So let's file this. Well, in this particular instance, it's, a town councillor came forward with this, and that's what I find a bit strange. Usually, we deal with resolution that is signed by the town council that ratified the resolution, but it stems from a particular municipality. So we'll just file it away for now. Yes, received and filed away then. All right. Item 6, notice of motion, none. Item 7, question period, none. All right, that's fine. Item 8, report from the United Counties of Prescott Russell. You know that we met with Mr. Lawson last week. I think that our meeting went very well. We're fairly in agreement with everything, mostly everything that was discussed. Mr. Watson made it a point to arrange a meeting with a few parliamentary members. Having known Mr. Lalonde in the past, Mr. Mayor, I had occasion to meet with John Fraser as well as Kathleen Wynne at that point in time also. So our intention is to meet with those people. You see, that's where all the major decisions impacting Eastern Ontario are made. That's when Mr. Crack is there also. Yeah, well, I went over his head to ask for further favors, yes. All right, we also attended a meeting with regards to the Alfred College situation. We're still trying to come up with a solution. I think that we've come up with a final solution. I think we should obtain details with regards to a final solution next week. I'd also like to mention also that all mayors of all county municipalities were in attendance on Saturday evening, an event that Mr. Parisien had told me would be sparsely attended, but quite the contrary, everybody was there. Committee reports then. Let's go on to committee reports. Request from the Clarence-Rockland Public Library Board to increase the number of members. Mrs. Shore, that the Committee of the Whole recommend the Town Council to increase the number of members of the Clarence-Rockland Public Library Board as requested, seconded by Councillor Simard. But we're asking that this be done because there are 2 Town Council members out of 5 that 5 members that sit on the library board. We'd like to increase the number of members to obtain feedback from all municipal areas. Well, last year that's how we functioned. That's how we functioned last year, but we came up short of members, so we named a few councillors as well as Mr. Lalonde. Yes, I think that we should increase the number of members, of course, to reflect the intent of all citizens. If people wish to take part in the Public Library Board dealings, that's fine. Councillor Lalonde, I assume that the reason why the number of members decreased, I believe they were up to 9 at their peak, and then they came down to 7 and then 5. I imagine that that interest waned. Well, you know, when they got caught up in moving from one venue to another, that's when things went sour. Well, you imagine that if the limit was increased, that more people would be interested. Yes, and they're involved in a greater number of activities, and they hold a greater number of workshops, especially in Bullshed, and they require more staff, more members to help organize those activities that they set up. Any questions? All those in favor then? Carried. Agreement for the management of municipal hazardous waste. The Committee of the Whole recommends Town Council to adopt Bylaw 2016-29, being a bylaw authorizing the mayor and the clerk to enter into a signed agreement with Greyall Limited for the management of municipal hazardous waste for a fixed amount of $14,872.03 per year for the next 3 years. Seconded by Councillor Zant. Any questions? Well, were there other companies involved in the tender process with regards to this? There was another one, I believe. Well, item number 4. Yes. Just a question here. There seems to be a huge gap in the prices that were bid. Obviously, we're taking a look back. It seems that less than half the price was, well, I believe that Drain Hall has experience in this regard. Mr. Tomlinson, this is new for him, you see, even though he bid lower. Maybe Drain Hall might know something about this particular project, others do not. Because I find that usually, you know, there are about 5% worth of difference, you know, between one winning bid and a losing bid, but there seems the discrepancy is much greater. Now they submitted their proposal on the same set of documents. I just found that a bit bizarre. All right, all those in favor then, carried. Let's go on now to the agreement for grass cutting that the Committee of the Whole recommend to Town Council to grant grass cutting contracts to the following companies for the year 2016, 17, and 18. The lawn care project for South Sector for 23,000, excluding taxes for 2016 to 2018. That the Committee of the Whole recommend to Town Council to adopt the bylaw to allow the director, the chief administrative officer, and the clerk to enter into a signed agreement with the grass cutting businesses. I believe the report was drawn up quite properly, and we decided to divide chores or to grant contracts to small businesses here in Transit and Rockland. This intent was expressed in the report that was forwarded to us, and I believe it's very worthwhile to offer those contracts to local companies, even no matter how small they are, to take care of our needs. All those in favor then, carried. Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change Stormwater Pond Report. Councillor Chouinot, whereas the Ministry of the Environment, in light of climate change, inspected 4 municipal installations with regards to stormwater pond report in October 2015, reported and published its inspection report. And whereas the inspection report of the Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change Stormwater Pond requires that we come up with necessary insurances, that measures to be taken be the production of the required documents. And whereas the infrastructure and planning services asked for extension until the 30th of April 2016 and 2 September 2016 instead of the dates of the 31st of March and the 30th of June 2016, at which time an answer is expected. And whereas the Committee of the Whole has decided that the management of stormwater pond report recommended to go to tender for strategic purposes, that we accept the report of the Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change stormwater pond report with regards to the 4 stormwater pond report installation, and the inspection was held on the 4th of October 2015, and that we broaden the mandate of the said report to include the preparation of documents required to meet the requirements of the Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change. Seconded by Councillor Grimard. Any questions? Well, I'd just like to mention the following, Mr. Mayor. We have some difficulty with our stormwater situation. The ministry, though, is quite heavy-handed all throughout the province with regards to requirements to be met when managing stormwater pond installations. Fine. 9.5 works on the sanitary sewer pipe on Laurier Phase 2 and Alma Streets. I'm going to read it in English. Whereas the engineering people have completed the analysis of the secondary sewer system on Laurier Street from Powers to the pumping station number 1. This analysis was completed under the 2015 budget for the sanitary sewer design, and whereas following the analysis of the condition and capacity of the sanitary sewer system and approximately 348 meter section from the sewer pipe on Laurier Street to Parc Maxima must be replaced in 2016, whereas following the analysis of the condition and capacity of the sanitary sewer system, an approximate section of the sanitary sewer pipe and easement at the end of Alma Street between Gilles and Caron Street must be repaired in 2016, whereas the engineering firm CHUM was mandated in 2015 to complete the design and specification as preparation of tender documents for construction purposes. Therefore, that the Committee of the Whole recommends the Council to adopt The proposed work on two sections, sanitary pipe on Laurier, and that we proceed with the design and construction of the proposed works. Seconded by Councillor Zant. Any questions then? Well, what I'd like to mention is this, Mr. Mayor. Was there a reason that we retained the services of that CH firm? Because I don't think we went to tender with regards to this. Because we're talking about $158,000 worth of engineering fees in all of this now. Well, this firm had already been involved with the Laurier Street situation. We made use of the tender process to accelerate procedures because they were quite familiar with the project. If you'll allow me this comment. Last year when we performed emergency work on or around the 4th or the 5th of April, approximately the same date as today's date, we had mandated CH2M to take a look at the problem that prevailed at that point in time and to take a look at the rest of that stretch of roadway, Laurier Street, right up to pumping station number 1. This is what they did. Well, I take a look at both tenders that were opened quite recently. The one that struck me the most was the one stemming from Gagny, $320 differences between the lowest and the highest. I think you'll see a lot of that. The counties had told me that 23 companies had tendered on one contract in particular. And Mr. McClement, the engineer, told me that was the first time that it seemed that so many contractors were bidding for the same project. It seems as if there's a lack of work out there. Well, you see, they're lowering their prices to obtain contracts. I don't recall how we came about to vote on a resolution to avoid going to tender. Well, you see, that's a continuation of what was done last year. Well, this particular resolution, you see, the work has been done. Now we're going to tender to have the rest of the work performed. Yeah, but that's part of the same tender that was released last year, that was made public last year. If you recall, last summer, there was a report out. Again, there was $1,000 ahead of time that was put forward to do the investigation work, and at that time they recommended CH2M, yes, CH2M, that company that had a standing offer. Now, at that time, you'd given us the authority to go ahead and greenlight the work. Yes, that was emergency work, as Mr. Simoneau has said. Yes. So they had prior knowledge of what was needed. Same amount of money that was allocated there. Okay. Because it was an emergency, we just wanted to make sure that it was that section that needed to be repaired. Yes, but I thought it was a design-related situation, but it was part of the same area. If it was a new contract, then I would have mentioned it. Mr. Guillemot, do you have a question? No, we're going ahead with proposed work. This is already money that was earmarked in the past for this particular purpose. Last year, you see, we faced an emergency situation, but there's an amount of $80,748 with regards to supervision. But supervision, you see, supervision project and inspection of works is already ingrained within $77,880 with regards to management of the project during the course of construction, not only with regards to supervision. Mrs. Collier, so last year we presented the overall budget to OMERS with regards to emergency work for Laurier, and we'd included the amount to do the second phase because we knew that there was a problem with the second phase. There were holes in the sewer, as we had in the first phase, but we knew that the work needed to be done. So at that time, when we brought it into the budget, we had an allocation there for HCH2 to do the reparation for phase 2. In any event, so this is what was done. Yes, we could see that the baskets were hanging down. The baskets were supposed to be skated to cement, but they were actually hanging down. That was last year. Councillor Simoneau? Go ahead then, Councillor Chouanière. In that case, this means that the thousands of dollars that were included in the work, they don't get the contract for the work itself, not the designing, the engineering part of it. One has to understand this. Look, we deal with two separate items: the design supervision made by consultants and the construction that's going to be insured by two contractors. A part of this, 90 million, does not need an excavation. We're just going to perform relining work within the pipe itself. Now this being said, there's going to be another contractor that's going to come up with a price to perform work needed to be done from Powers to Simon Park. Well, that's fine. But with regards to last year's design, the $80,000 that is earmarked for design work deals with design work to be performed this year, not with anything that was done last year. Well, the $80,768 was set aside in 2015 budget. It has been paid out. Well, then again, what should be stipulated is this, is that the contract, the $780,000 contract, are we going to remove the $80,000 from that? Well, we're not going to remove the contract. They came up with a design, and now we're going to go to tender, right? So that we won't lose it. When Mr. Darche presented this report last summer, he knew, with regards to the CPP scan that was performed, that there was a problem there. So he said, let's get the money approved ahead of time to do the design so that we can be ready to go during this spring, right? And now we're ready to bid. Well, the contract will be $700,000 instead of the initial $800,000 amount. Well, the contract was not awarded because we haven't gone to tender for any of the construction work to be performed. You see, this figure deals with last year. This is presented to us for information purposes, more than anything else. Nothing more than that. It's for information purposes only. All right? Anything else? Anything else, folks? Anything else? All those in favor, then. All right. Item 9.6, Statement of Remuneration, Expenditures and Expenses for 2015. Councillor Lalonde, go ahead. Let me try and come up with the resolution here, Mr. Mayor. This report represents individual expenditures of each council members, as well as each individuals that are not members of town council but that were appointed by municipality as a member of an organization. Directives and policies. Now, just read the resolution, Mayor, Mr. Lalonde. Just read the resolution. I was trying to follow along there. Yes. Sorry. That the Committee of the Whole recommend to Town Council that it recommends the detailed statement of remuneration and expenses for 2015 in keeping with Section 284 of the 2001 Municipalities Act as presented in Report FIN 2016-002. Seconded by Councillor Simard. Any questions? All those in favor? Carried then. Thank you. Luckily, we're not dealing with the Hawkesbury firefighters in this particular instance, right? Okay. Any other items? Any questions for department heads? Councillor Simoneau? Mr. Carrier, I imagine you'll keep us aware of progress with regards to all projects that are ongoing in the form of a Gantt chart. Yes, in fact, I'll come up with that in a forthcoming meeting. Yes, indeed. Any other questions then? Councillor Lalonde, Mr. Lalonde, yes, Mr. Sabourin, I'm sorry. We discussed a few weeks ago and we exchanged a few emails concerning the state of the co-op in Clarence, and you told me in writing that the matter was leaving your department's jurisdiction to the planning department's desk because of jurisdictional concerns. Has the file been sent from one to the other? Well, I attended a meeting this week to talk about this particular project. Now, the exchange has not been performed yet. It should be done this week sometime. Now, of course, if fire catches at that particular venue, let me tell you, if there's old kindling there, well, I'm worried about the neighbors, neighboring homes that run the risk of catching fire also. Well, that's right. We've implemented measures and we've planned. Maybe explain to town council what you explained to me. I believe that you have to perform a type of transitional work with the planning department. Well, it's because, you see, that falls under the Property Standards Act. And under the building code, to be more precise. And those particular experts with regards to the building code are the land planning and management department. Bylaw enforcement officers don't have the training to determine how a particular home or a particular building, how stable a home or a building might be. But the bylaw enforcement officers might look at the exterior of the home, but the building itself, the physical aspect of the building itself, falls under the aegis of the building code. And along with the construction experts that, get into that mix, basically. Did someone take a look at the possible potential presence of vermin? Well, we have a couple of small friends in there. Can we even go in there? The bank owns this. Well, we'd have to phone those people in charge of that particular building and perform an inspection. If there's vermin there, they might as well demolish this building. Otherwise, rats are going to wind up in neighbors' homes. We might put in some rat poison in there. We're talking about a building that's been left vacant for years and years now. It's not an interesting prospect for those people living around that area. Right. Other questions? Mr. Mayor, I would have a question for probably my two colleagues here with regards to Caron Street. I didn't travel by Caron Street quite recently, but I'm close to. Well, I'm ready to I'm ready to receive an April Fool's joke or hear one. I was going to ask the same question. I went by the 1st of April there, and I thought this was an April Fool's, and I went there by the 3rd of April, and there were no lights. So the floor is yours. Well, we're waiting for Hydro to activate a switch somewhere, and magic will happen. Well, you see. Yes, it's coming. It's getting there. Mrs. Collier, I trust you will pay attention to the email I sent you last night concerning the Ladon subdivision, and you'll keep me aware of what's going on? Yes. Yes, she will pay attention to this email. Yes, she will. I'm just saying this very politely. Yes, as certainly you can. It's also a matter of security. Well, I know that the government followed up on this particular process, but we're talking about Hydro involved in this, so they're not quick to respond. Sometimes I have a suggestion, Mr. Mayor. You could twist their arm a tad bit. Well, we should count the number of people, Hydro One people, that are on the sunshine list. I believe they need 48 pages, if not more than that. We can always put them up during the wintertime and supply them with barbed wire. All right. Any other questions? Councillor Levert? You might review your notes, Councillor Levert. Just to follow up on Mr. Andre's question, it might be important to take a look at those small animals that might be in there. Let's not forget that a rat's gestation period lasts 28 days and might give birth to 24 individual rats. Quite informative, Councillor Levert. My. You seem to be quite familiar with that particular subject. Any other questions? No? If not, adjournment called at 8:45. That's an official record. Bye for now.